I phoned Stewart McMinn. Mac, I need help. He says, I have a kid that is just about to graduate that has the greatest sense of style I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it. And that was Stewart Reed.
He took the road less traveled. He went that way instead of where everybody went.
First and foremost, Stewart's a car guy. He understands it, he gets it.
He himself has been on this path in his career that wasn't really traditional. Through that, he's had this, really robust experience as a designer and as an educator and as an influencer in the industry.
Design is as much about people and how teams are put together and stories are told and the relationships. I think the earliest recollection I have, I think it was up in northern Michigan, out in the yard, and I heard an aircraft in the sky and looked up, and it was kind of frightening to me because it was a huge aircraft without a fuselage. And I know now in hindsight it was the Northrop flying wing, and so I remember seeing the Northrop flying wing go over northern Michigan. It's a powerful memory. Those things have a certain magic for a little kid. One of the really influential persons in my life growing up was an architect friend of my father's. I thought he was the most interesting person in the world, so I was pretty certain at the age of 15 and 16 that I wanted to be an architect, like my father's friend. But General Motors came to our high school and challenged young people at the high school with their design competition, which was called the Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild. It was an automotive design competition. I got a second place in Michigan the first time in, and then the following year, at age 16, entered it again and won first place in the senior division. That led to going to Detroit for a week. That was really life-changing. At the end of the week, they had an award ceremony, and I won scholarship money and heard all about ArtCenter, so that sort of solidified the path to ArtCenter for me at the age of 16. I had some knowledge of ArtCenter only because, all the great automotive magazines in those years would have a little ad in the back of the magazine, study car design in Southern California. I mean, how exciting does that sound,
Nobody knows what makes boys and girls want to draw cars, the imagery. We've often wondered, and we see the candidates coming in and we say, well, how long have you been drawing? Oh, since I was 4.
Stewart McMinn, who had really formalized the transportation design program at ArtCenter, was a figure that I knew all about. He had done a lot of writing and design analysis, and so he was a kind of a known figure in automotive design. For me to finally arrive at ArtCenter, at the age of 18 and meet him was a big deal to me. He always had time for you and always gave the best, most insightful critique on your work. When I graduated, I had an offer from Chrysler Corporation, one from Ford, and one from General Motors. A lot of that due to the networking that Stewart McMinn did. I would guess that there are literally hundreds of successful people that owe much of their success to Stewart McMinn. I had 3 offers in Detroit, which was exciting, but Nancy and I thought it might be good to just spend a few more months in California before making a decision.
I was not happy with what I was looking at messing around with. I was playing around with something that I thought would be good on the street only kind of a car, but I knew that I wasn't as good at that as I was at doing a dune buggy.
Stewart McMinn had introduced me to Bruce Myers, who was really the inventor of the fiberglass dune buggy. Bruce had really started the Baja 1000 off-road race and the whole dune buggy culture in Southern California.
And he came back one day with a sketch he'd made while he was waiting for his wife to make him a sandwich, and he'd throw it down, and he says, "What do you think of that?" I said, "Wow."
The way he sees these cars, the way he understands design.
And it was a great opportunity to design an all-new sort of a street dune buggy for Bruce Myers.
And that became the SR. About a year later, it rolled out the door. It was made in heaven.
It's amazing to me how many people in the car industry are car industry guys, even into the design realm. And they're very good at what they do, but they don't have the passion.
He spent close to 3 years, I think, with us.
And so when you put that all together, man, you got the perfect package.
That was exciting. 22 years old, and a car I designed is on the cover of major magazines at the age of 22.
I would say one of the biggest contributions that Stewart's made in the automotive industry is the fact that he has influenced so many different designs and so many cars and products.
The final surface shape is really important. If it's a sports car, a luxury car, the right kind of romance or the right kind of character, if it's a utility vehicle, is really important. But I particularly enjoy going deeper into the bones and thinking about the engineering layout and the architecture of the vehicle.
I was always amazed at his sketching. The ability to draw the cars is a kind of another bag of tricks.
The thing that amazes me the most is it seems like every time I talk to Stewart, I find out something else that he's done in his past.
Whether it was Myers or starting Calty or even going to Prince, his track record is, yeah, everybody does that.
Then you find out that he's the one that was behind the Cunningham project. And he did, of course, the gearbox, which in my mind influenced the Hummer. Without Stewart's project, we'd probably never even have seen the Hummer.
You look at people looking at a new car, and they do a run around the exterior and get a sense for the car, but they immediately go inside the car and look inside it. That's the place where people are in a car and where they relate to it. I think to do deep investigations in what that means to give a car its particular brand philosophy or personality is so important. I think it was early in 2005, I was in my studio, Detroit area, and got a call from ArtCenter. Would I consider coming back as department chair of transportation design? And I recall it was very flattering to me, and I got home that evening and mentioned it to Nancy, and Nancy said, "Well, what did you say?" And I told them I couldn't do it, and Nancy just took me on and said, "No, that would be perfect for you." So it was
Because of his passion and his desire to work with students and to teach, he's so knowledgeable, and I think that type of passion brought into that position at ArtCenter is something that ArtCenter really needed. He knows the business, he knows the design, and he wants to teach.
He tried to kill us, but we survived. The ones that survived, we were much stronger and much more capable, I think.
One of the first things that I thought about arriving at ArtCenter is because I uniquely had spent time focusing on interior design and done a lot of advanced concept development. And now we're in a setting where there are lots of California advanced design studios. I saw the opportunity to broaden the transportation design curriculum.
He was tough in a fatherly way. This is going to be insane, but he said, this is going to be great, and we all thought it was great, and to this day we all thought it was great.
We have a number of really successful alums that have just excelled.
My deepest point of connection with Stewart is through ArtCenter. So I think of him as an influencer in the industry through this educational realm.
Peter challenged me to imagine a body design for a Bugatti chassis, which he has, the Bugatti Type 64. This was a chassis made in 1939 at Bugatti that was really Bugatti's next great supercar. And tragically, Jean Bugatti, who was the designer for his father Ettore, was killed in a driving accident in 1939. And never designed the body for this chassis.
The Bugatti thing, when I first heard about it, if you do the math and you say, okay, we're going to meet Peter Mullen, you know, he's got all these Bugattis, and you could look at him then and go, and you're going to build one for him. But it wasn't happening then. It's just, as the pieces fall into place, you think, oh yeah, like that makes total sense that Stewart is building a Bugatti.
Now, why wouldn't you try to finish what John Bugatti had started and put a body on it that would honor what was in John Bugatti, what we guessed was in John Bugatti's mind.
It is just magnificent engineering art. It was a real privilege to design the body that might have been on a 1939 Bugatti. The decision is to never completely finish it. It will never be painted, never have interior trim. Peter wanted it to be engineered so that the body as a monocoque could be lifted up above the chassis for display purposes, so you can see the chassis and see the completed body, and that's how it's displayed currently at the Mullen Automotive Museum.
Stewart was thrilled with it, and so it was a win-win for all of us.
He's at really one of the leading centers for the development of young designers.
He attracts us all. I think it has a lot to do, yes, with his heart, but with his integrity.
He was a refinement.
I'm not the expert on Stewart Reed, but I can say that I'm very impressed with him.
Just the idea that you can create things or craft things and imagine what a new object should be is pretty exciting. So, I mean, this sense of taking a material and making something is kind of inherent in the way a designer emerges, I think.